Hey everyone, we are back with the art and cultural segment that we're doing for Latino Arts Festival to get people and amazing people in our community out here and talking about what they do and who they are. So we have Chico here with us. Chico, hi again.
What up?
Co-hosting.
Yeah.
And an amazing guest, Carlos. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So we invited you on because we're so interested. Well, first of all, your food's amazing. It's a phenomenal place, and definitely wanted to get to know more about you and what you do and how you got started, and then definitely how we can support you in any way that we can as well. You want to add anything, Chico?
Oh, no, I mean, it was, same old thing, just asking questions. Trying to get some answers.
We are so we're just doing it.
Well, I think an important thing to mention is, so you started off in working in restaurants. Like, well, how did you start working in restaurants? Like, you just started, like, how old were you when you started?
Okay, so I've been in the restaurant a while now. I was 14, 15 years old when I first started working at restaurants. It was at Rainforest Cafe at the mall. And I was a prep guy, and I did three things. When I was 16. And they gave me this stuff that nobody wanted to do. It was my first kitchen job, so everybody kind of just treated me like, the guy to go do stuff that I don't want to do. I worked at a prep with a bunch of ladies there, and I did the shrimp, the coconut shrimp, and we did like 20 trays of 60 coconut shrimp each day. Vegetables by hand, and it was like cases of peppers and onions and a bunch of stuff. It was like vegetable slaw that they gave you. And till this day, I still remember. That's been over, 20 years, 25 years, and it still haunts me in my dreams. Rainforest Cafe. That was the biggest restaurant. There was like 30 kitchen staff in there. And there was like 6 dishwashers. It was a factory restaurant. I remember there was 5 walk-in refrigerators for different stuff. So yeah, it was insane. I definitely learned a lot of what I didn't want to work and didn't want to do. I didn't want to work at a factory restaurant for the rest of my life. So. So that's what kind of started the cooking. My dad had restaurants when we grew up in Mexico. So he had chicken restaurants. He had rotisserie chickens. So it was kind of like always there. He had 12 at one point. I think that's the most restaurants he had. And I used to go help him when I was a kid and stuff. So. I think that's when it all started.
So Carlos, can you give us a little bit of backstory about where you're from and how'd you ended up in Kansas City? Yeah, if you can give us some of that, that'd be amazing, just to kind of know where you're.
So we're originally from Querétaro, Mexico, and nobody knows where it is. It's like in the middle. It's the Midwest of Mexico, the middle of Mexico. About 2 hours south of Mexico City. Okay. So it's the story of it. I have a lot of Mexicans in the United States. We grew up, it's a little different than a lot of them. We grew up in Mexico. We were like, pretty well. My parents had restaurants, and my dad was also an electrical engineer, worked at power plants and stuff like that. Fast forward when the economy crashed in Mexico, we lost it all. I mean, we went from being I'm not wealthy, but we were well off, upper middle class in Mexico to having nothing. I mean, I remember the moving trucks coming into our home and taking everything. So my dad decided we moved to a state of Veracruz. That's where my grandparents are, to kind of start over. And it just wasn't, he owned too much money because the way that he was growing on his restaurants, he borrowed money. So instead of owing $10,000, now he owes $100,000 or 100,000 pesos. So I think it's millions of pesos that he owned at that time to the bank for loans and everything. So so we moved to Veracruz to kind of start over, but it was just like debt collectors were after him, and he decided to come to America. He knew some people that were coming over here, and everybody else is like, yeah, I can. His plan was to be out here for a few months, get some money, and pay his debts. Well, that didn't work out. So it's like, let's bring our family. We need to bring the family over. So we came over when we were I was about 11 years old when we came here. It was a big culture shock going from kind of having everything to now we don't know, live in a 2-bedroom house. And we all kind of live in 1 bedroom, like me and my siblings. And I went from never seeing my mom work to now she's working. I think she was a housekeeper at that time. So it was just being the oldest. I was always kind of in charge of my kid brothers. I cooked for them and everything. So it was just kind of, I don't know, the whole work hard. If you work hard, you get what you want, kind of thing. So I don't know. Yeah, that's a little bit the little version, of the background of how we ended up here. Fast forward to now is just the restaurant, just working at the restaurant now.
So what made you decide to do the type of restaurant you're doing right now? Because I've been there and it's fantastic. It's food. It reminds me of food that I'm used to having with my grandmother and at home. And we were kind of surprised just because we don't seem to venture out as much as we should probably. And just to know that you guys were there and heard about you and then went. And even my husband is from Mexico City. He has almost the same kind of story. He came over when he was about 11 too. And, he was like, oh, this is really good. Yeah.
So I always, I wanted to open a restaurant, but I didn't want to open a Mexican restaurant. It was expected. I feel like a lot of people go because you're Mexican, you're supposed to open a Mexican restaurant and have everything traditional. Well, here at the Bite and at the Pollo, we did stuff that I grew up kind of with it. Growing up in Mexico, raised in the United States, you eat different food from all over the world. It opens up, instead of having everything traditional, we like to add a little twist to everything, just from experiences that we have gone through, or that's what we put a lot of Asian influence on our food. I love Asian food. Kind of grew up, first time I ate Korean food, I was like, what is this? This is so good. And it's just kind of started from there. When I was in high school, I washed dishes at a Korean restaurant. And that's just kind of became the love for it. Korean food and Mexican food are very close. Mm-hmm. The spice levels, the stews, it's very vegetable centric. Is what a lot of people don't know about Mexican food. It's very vegetable forward, the same as Korean and everything. So I don't know. That's how we kind of when we were designing the menu and everything, we were like, let's just put stuff that we like to eat. Yeah. And, that's most of the stuff in there is stuff that I will eat late at night, or just kind of that's how it kind of started. I love eating pozole. one of my favorite things to eat in the world. And so we have pozole every day. I never understood why Mexican restaurants only do pozole on the weekends.
Thank you. Can we give a shout out to why they do that? I don't know.
I don't get it. Like I never got like also they know they're gonna sell out.
Yes.
So why don't they make more?
Yes.
It's like pozole and menudo is a weekend thing, and I always thought that was the weirdest thing. Is like,
it's a game changer.
Yeah. You want it on Monday. Why can't I have it on Mondays?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to hear somebody else say that, because I'm telling you, when you want it and you're like, I don't know how to make it, and if we're not at my mother-in-law's house, ain't nobody making it. And you're like, I'll spend the money on it, but
and it's such a simple thing to do that I just and so that's why we're like let's decide to have pozole every day. We kind of change it with the seasons. Right now, we're about to start doing a green pozole for the summer since we have better vegetables.
Nice, yeah.
So, winter, we got the red one. My brother Julio, who is kind of like, he's my sous chef, right hand. He's thinking about doing a yellow pozole. He's been with the idea of doing a yellow pozole, so he wants to do that. But yeah. I don't really like tomatoes, so I don't have tomatoes in any of my sandwiches or any of the dishes here. So it's just stuff like that. I feel like if you eat certain way and you like it and you put your passion and stuff, people will come and like it, eat it, and they're like, oh yeah, this is good. It's good. It's different but good.
Well, from the comments, it feels like other people are in the same boat in Kansas City. So you have a lot of people over here. Michael Fabian was like, for real. And Laura Sita is like, I want pozole at 121 on a Wednesday. I mean, why can't we do that? So we have a lot of customers.
In Chicago, one time I was in, there's a pozoleria that is open 24 hours. And they only have green and red pozole. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah, so one day we'll have one in Kansas City.
Yes, absolutely.
Just all day.
All day pozole, yeah.
That works.
It's funny. It's like 100-degree weather. That's when you want to eat the hot soup.
So, like, you came up like in restaurants, right? Like there was no like, and from some of the best, like, most interesting like chefs seem like even if they went to culinary school, they started at the bottom, you know what I mean? Like they started like I was talking about Anthony Bourdain earlier. He was a fry cook when he wrote that book, and he had gone to culinary school and stuff, and like it took him, there's like a hierarchy whether or not you're like just entering in. Do you think that like, because I've eaten at your restaurant, I used to be a very like, I mean, I worked there, like, let's be real.
Oh, okay.
and for real, like it changed like working with you and Julio. I never fucking like, I was like the fucking simplest food I could get. I would eat like burgers, my favorite thing. And then like after like 3 or 4 weeks, I'm like, I want to eat more and more, like just everything. I gained like so much weight, like even now. The kitchen got smaller and smaller. I was like, what's happening? But like, do you find that like that, like having somebody who starts just working at like you said, just as a prep cook or doing prep, versus somebody who goes to culinary school and just comes out with one specific like thing? Like, do you feel like your taste is more complex and like you're able to do what you do because you've sort of gone through this like hierarchical system within the industry?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I went to culinary school for like 1 semester.
Okay.
I went to culinary school, and it's just something that when they were teaching me is stuff that I had already learned. You know, I was 18, 19 when I went to culinary school, and at 16 I was already doing everything, and they were teaching me. I feel like it's kind of like you're an artist, you go to art school. So it's kind of like, but you've been kind of honing your craft as you go, because you paint, you draw, you get better every time. Just finding different ways, you know, as an artist or musician, feel like when you in the food world, in the restaurant world, I feel, you know, I respect it. And, you know, there's a lot of people that they go to culinary school and they're great chefs. But I feel like the more that I have more respect, like Anthony Bourdain, you know, other chefs out there that have started from washing dishes and just kind of, they did their schooling by going to different restaurants. I feel like you can learn something from different people, and on me, I when I started and wanted to learn more, I decided that I was going to just go work at other places and try to learn the best thing out, you know, whatever, because each restaurant is different, each food is different. So I just wanted to, you know, self-learn. I already knew how to cook. I already knew how to use the knife techniques. What I wanted now is blend the, you know, flavors and how to use different techniques and just different ways of viewing food than just one way, you know. There's not just one way of cooking Mexican food. There's different ways to get there. So why do we have to keep this, you know, doing the same thing over and over? And that's kind of like the way that I view whenever we're creating a menu or we're kind of just creating a new dish is, how can we do this different? How can we cook it different by using different techniques or different ingredients that they're normally not used on that cuisine or whatever? And I feel like, you know, by kind of not going to culinary school, because going to culinary school also, they teach you the French way, because the French people is the one that started the whole modern cooking. Well, I'm not French and I'm not interested in French food. Yeah. You know, French food, it's great, and it brings you good basics, like a nice, but I'm never gonna cook French food. I never wanna cook that kind of cuisine. You know, it's heavy in creams, it's heavy on butters, everything has a sauce. So I was always more interested on the other cuisines, you know, especially Asian cuisines. Why can we not, you know, teach more about Asian cuisine like they teach the French way, or Mexican cuisine? There's so many different areas in Mexico that each part of Mexico have their own cuisine. You know, you go to the northern part, you go to the southern part, and it's all different. And it's more complex. Sometimes it gets more complex than the French way. So it's just something that I just kind of like, as I get older, I just think about it. It's like, why do we have to do something a certain way when we can get there and create delicious dishes where you're not even, you know, going a different way? So that's kind of like my view on doing culinary school is like, if you want to go culinary school, go for it. It's a great basics, but it's better if you just go make some money, go work at restaurants, and then maybe try to go to another country and learn that cuisine by doing it. Like if I would have been younger when I kind of embarked on that, I would have got, you know, and less responsibilities at that time. I would have just left and traveled all to Asia or, you know, Europe or whatever, just to try different cuisines to see what techniques and everything that they use. So.
Yeah, did you sort of like consult and like, I didn't mean to downplay, like, you know, like I sort of laughed when you said you've done like one semester of culinary school, only because I've done the exact amount of art school. Like I was just like I can't, it's too slow for me. Like that's what.
Yeah, so, I feel like yeah.
Like you're just like I got this, and then you just kind of go with it.
Almost like I hate to say it was a waste of time for me. Because I was paying to learn stuff that I already knew that they were paying me to learn. It was harder because not everybody learns the way that I learned by doing and by like getting my hands in, instead of sitting in a classroom that's telling you this is how you hold a knife. Then just put it and just do it.
And I mean, and just from like watching you and your brother and everybody that worked within the restaurant, is this sort of stuff you pick up by somebody yelling at you about it? Like I didn't know there was like a proper way to hold a knife, but every time I would move it a certain way, somebody would be like, "You're gonna ruin it! Like you're gonna ruin the knife. You're gonna do this." All right. So yeah, but what I like, so what I've always like appreciate about your cooking is there's like an authenticity for somebody that hasn't like. I know you've like been around the people and like that's kind of cool like to see you incorporate Korean and I mean even like Asian flavors into mixed with like Mexican and Latino flavors. Is that was that something you pursued or just like with because what's Sura Eats? I know they did a few pop-ups in the restaurants like and then just sort of like the intermingling of different kitchen staffs and stuff like that. Like I just like I don't know the base of my question is just like asking like how you reach that level of authenticity with different mixtures of food. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like you go to other restaurants and they just like sort of mess with it. Like they have the idea of like poke or whatever. Mm-hmm. They don't know what they're doing. They're like throw some raw fish in there.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, and that's a big debate, like the whole, where is the line of like when you're taking somebody else's culture and now you take that and like when it comes to fusion or when it comes to like, and I feel like in the culinary world, it's a big debate of, especially it's like appropriation of, I feel like of somebody else's culture or, doing, and I feel like with food in general, we would have not been where we are, like, and I hate like, because of immigration kind of brings, like Peru has a big Japanese community and Asian community, and they're the ones that introduced raw fish into the ceviches and all of that. Like you got Jamaica where you have the African that enslaved that they brought all those curries and all that to the food. So it just kind of created a new Jamaican food instead of saying African food or whatever, and the same in Mexico, like the Veracruz part where there's also a big African community. They brought some of that flavor into Mexican food, which Mexican food is between indigenous and then the Spaniards when they just kind of, mixture of everything. I feel like in modern days, we're kind of doing a little bit of that. Like I'm a Mexican, but when I was a kid, I was more interested in Asian food because it's just something that I thought it was great. So it's kind of like your experiences and you're trying to, whenever as a chef, you want to respect the culture and respect everything by not saying it's Korean or not saying it's people. And one of the questions that I always ask here, and I never know how to answer, except for like we're a sandwich shop. It's like, what are you? What kind of restaurant is this? They expect it to be a Mexican restaurant. Then they're expected to be an Asian restaurant. But then we also have a big vegetarian, vegan menu part of it. And it's just like, we're just a restaurant. Why do we need to put, boxes into what we're trying to provide? It's going to be delicious. Just eat it and don't ask.
The funny thing was always like, there were certain people that would come in and they would see like the Mexican flag hanging.
Yeah.
And then they would look at the menu and just like, not even like there's a curiosity that you can sort of entertain sometimes. Like somebody's like, where are you from? If the way they ask, you're just like, it's kind of whatever, but like, I'll answer the question. But like when people would come in and be like, they would look mad. Like they're like, what kind of restaurant is this?
Yeah. And that's like,
and you could never answer. It was like, why are you like starting off upset? Like they just like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you doing in the middle of, whatever?
Yeah. You got this Mexican guy selling sandwiches that are Korean and Mexican. Yeah. You were, like, I don't know, maybe once, twice a week, even maybe more than that, I ask where are my free chips and salsa? Or
yeah.
it's just like and that's it, like they're expecting something because
Yeah.
they see you as they see you as a Mexican person, as a Latino, and then they expect you to sell certain thing. So a lot of the fusion restaurants, a lot of that is mainly a white person game, most of it, because they're the ones that like to take stuff and make them big. So when I'm like I'm a Mexican selling and making some Korean and taking aspects of Korean food or Asian flavors and put it with my food is something that I grew up with. Being in America, where you have choices of eating different types of cuisines every day, and you just experiences that you grew up with, and you trying to make something out of it. Like I always say, like our food is, if a Mexican man and a Korean lady had a baby, we're like that. We're the baby. We're not just fried rice in a burrito. We're like the baby of two people coming together, kind of, because it's not. We're taking all the ingredients or the cooking techniques or just kind of different and mashing it together. So
I loved your restaurant when I went, because again, we were just walking around and we were like, okay, I've heard about this. We'll stop in. And you, first and foremost, like you said, you had vegetarian options, which is very rare, I feel like, or you'll get the simple bean and cheese burrito or something when you go to a Mexican restaurant or something like that. You can never find anything that's really good as a vegetarian meal. And so I was able to eat, because I am. And I kind of want to know your thoughts, because I'm somebody who never cooked. My grandparents cooked for me. They never wanted me in the kitchen. It was just an opposite. Usually now my kids are like embraced with my mother-in-law and, their abuelas, and they're like, we want you in the kitchen. For us, it was like, get out of my kitchen. This is my space.
like
And yeah. So now that we're in quarantine, I've had to cook, right? So I've actually embraced so much Mexican food, just because of the fact that, I don't know, it just makes me feel at home. So, and I totally get the fact of like fusing. I love Italian food. I think I was supposed to be born Italian. I'm not even sure what happened, but I just absolutely, that's what I mean. Like, you love Asian food along with, your Mexican food, and it's that fusion. And it's just the same way. You just have this love for something, but then you also have this love for this other. But can you tell me, like, what is one of your favorite dishes that you make that, or even maybe you don't make it, maybe it's something you haven't done yet, to share with everybody?
I do love making Italian food.
Do you? Okay, can you put that on your menu too?
Yeah, this thing, like, I hate Italian food, but I like making it because and it's not hate. I don't like American Italian food because it's the same.
Yeah.
It's cheese, cream, red sauce, meat. And I feel like Italian, the real Italian, is simple. It's a simplicity that I most people don't get to experience. When they think Italian, they think Olive Garden.
That's really right.
They think those, which there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just something that I don't like. I love making my pasta and adding a simple sauce to it and to it. But it just takes time because a pasta is 3 ingredients. Flour, eggs, salt, pepper, and water. And you can do a variation of that, but I don't know. It's just something, like simple dishes is what I like to eat and cook. And one of my favorite things to cook in my house is breakfast burritos. I can eat breakfast burritos, but it's simple. And as much as I like to doing the complicated, the time-consuming everything, I like to eat simple dishes. I don't have a lot of time, so I need something fast that I can throw together. And then back to you say, why do we have so much vegetarian? I grew up vegetarian. My mom is a vegan. So it's kind of like an odd to her, just kind of growing up vegetarian. Again, it's a trend. It's something that I think the future is getting there. Getting to be vegetarian, vegan, and it's another again. You say vegetarian usually is bean and rice.
Rice, yeah.
Bean and rice is that we can do. That's what we're trying to do. That's where we started our pop-up every Wednesday night. We do a taqueria vegana, and it's all vegan, and trying to do the traditional kind of classic junk food like crunch wraps, nachos, to doing some Korean tacos, or we do crab cakes that are vegan and different stuff. So I right now I like cooking that, because it's my favorite part is when people take a bite of something that we made vegan and they're like, I didn't know this was vegan. That it just tastes, especially like a big meter that says, I'm never gonna go vegan, vegetarian, and then you hand them something, they're like, this is the best whatever I had. It was always fun to tell them that it's vegan. So
absolutely. So right now we're kind of in this pandemic and this crazy time, and so how are you guys handling it and holding up? And is there any way that our community can support you in any way? And I know you gave me some information that I'm going to put up here as well.
I mean, I still, figuring out this whole thing is like, we stayed open. We're doing a curbside carry out on both of the restaurants, because we figured out if we closed, we would never be able to reopen. Being closed for 2 months with no income and nothing, it would have been, hard. So we're, people can share the restaurants. That they don't really need to buy anything. Just share it with people, because somebody else will get it. We have a donation, but web page. I have a link. I'll send you the link later. But that's mainly, we've been providing meals to frontline workers from restaurant people. Our restaurant Pollo, we were giving free meals on Mondays to artists, musicians, restaurant people, nurses, whoever wanted just a meal. Just come. You don't need it to be a restaurant worker. Here at the Bay, we've been every Wednesday and Friday, we take about 50 meals to the third shifts at different various hospitals. So, you can donate for us to keep doing that. It's that their third shift is usually the shift that is kind of forgotten.
Yeah.
And I have a friend that he's a nurse, and he's saying, he kept telling me that nobody has come and give meals. Everybody gets meals to the first and second shift, but the third shift gets forgotten.
That's rough.
Yeah.
So he was like, we were eating the leftover pizza from the second shift. Yeah. So I'm like, let me, get in contact. So we started with one hospital, and now we're doing 4 hospitals that we just kind of rotating, doing it, and it's just something that, we just do it. We have, sometimes we make just lasagna, and, it's just whatever I feel like making them, they're grateful to get it. That's about 50, 60 meals that we do, and then go take it to different hospitals. So, there's a link that they can donate for that, if they, just so we can keep feeding a lot of the healthcare workers that are, fighting the front lines. We have for the workers and anybody that doesn't have a job, Apoyo. So we're trying to do our part on that. They can help us by sharing the restaurant, letting people know what we're doing, donating to any of those links in there. So,
Yeah.
when it's open up, just come and go to each restaurant. That's, I know we all going through tough times nowadays, but, I'm not, we all got to do our part.
Absolutely. So we do have the link here that you gave me, but people probably can't really see it. So, Carlos, I'll put that on our stream so that way people can click it. But there's a checkout.square.site pay here, and then your website scrolling through, and it has been through the whole broadcast at the bitekconline.com, and then the pollo2go.com as well. So you do have to go, and you do have delivery, you said?
Yeah. On both restaurants, we do carry out, curbside, and delivery. Through at Pollo, we actually do self-delivery now. So we've been lucky enough that was being busy that we actually had to hire a delivery driver to go deliver. Yeah. So at Dubai, we're a little slower, but we do a lot of pickups here. It's weird. Both restaurants, Pollo is all delivery. This one is all like pickup, which
Well, hopefully with the weather getting nicer, people will start walking around more, and definitely get out there more to pick up for sure.
Yeah.
So what are the hours of both places, just so people are clear and like?
So at the Bite, we are open from 11 to 8 Tuesday through Saturday, and 11 to 4 Sunday and Monday. We're open every day, which is a Sunday, Monday we close early just because we all need a day off.
Yeah.
And then Pollo, we're open 11 to 8 Monday through Saturday. We close on Sundays. So
perfect.
You can get your pozole at the Bite every day.
So pozole, you do have pozole. So
yeah.
And then
we are going there.
Y'all are still doing the vegan nights on Wednesdays, right? Or is it the all day thing?
Yeah, every Wednesday, 5 to 8 p.m. We do vegan night at this Taqueria Vegana, and we post the menu on Sundays on our Instagram, Taqueria Vegana KC. So you can see our menu and what we're gonna do if we do anything, special or anything, events or anything coming up. You can follow us on social media. That's usually where we kind of tell everybody what we're doing.
Awesome.
That's perfect. That's good to know, because we want to make sure we catch with the menu, because like you said, it changes, and then definitely catch those hours so people know. We can add that all to the broadcast so that way people have it as well to see. So, yeah. Well, we just appreciate you so much, Carlos. We want to help you any way we can. We're just so honored to have you here. I finally got to talk to you, seen you in the back, working, and, heard all about you. And when I walk in your space, it just makes you feel like, wow, this is a pretty cool place. I think you had a movie on running at the same time when we walked in one day, and we're like, my kids are like, whoa, this place is pretty happening. Like, what, they have an actual movie on? I was like, I know, it's kind of fancy.
we do stuff that we want to do, we watching Pokemon the other day. From and also all the art that we have, both restaurants, we like to support artists of all kinds, especially we want to focus on Latino artists, women artists that don't get the chance to expose themselves as much as mainstream artists. So murals. I got a mural here by Chico. Have some of his art up there.
I don't know if you can call it that now that because Isaac's murals on both sides. I'm like, oh, my little guy.
You just need to finish it. So and then we got a few murals by Isaac Tapia. And then at the other restaurant, we have all the chicken murals that, also Chico has one, Isaac has one, Rodrigo has one. So, we like to support artists the way that we can, if they want to display their art, we don't, in the art piece sales, we don't charge commission, and like so other places. I mean, it's something that I want, art and music kind of fills me. So we play what we want to hear. We put art of the artists that we want to have up there, and just kind of make our own little community here at the restaurant. So.
Well, I'd love to connect our kids at the foundation. We have some teenagers that do phenomenal art that doesn't get seen. And so maybe they could just post it up maybe a weekend or so when you open. And, maybe they can do that.
For sure. Yeah. Once we're open, we try to change our art every once a month.
Okay.
We're trying to have a new artist show their art. And sometimes we throw a little, little party for them that they can invite their friends and show them. So it's Yeah, it's fun. It's fun, especially when they're open, like new into the art world that they never had like a little opening or anything like that. It's funny. It's fun to watch them. You know.
It sounds like you got kind of the same mission I got going on over here. That we need to connect more to get these kids out there for sure. We have a festival coming up, and so I'm going to ask you on here, and you do not have to say yes right now, but what we'd love to have you back for is if you'd like to do a segment during our festival from September 1st to the 30th, and maybe do a cooking segment, talk about your story, maybe do a dish for everybody. So if you want to think about that, we're going to have an entire month of artists, lowriders, muralists, creative writing, poetry, and then some videography. So we're going to have a mini aspiring artist film fest for the kids.
Sign me up.
I will say that Carlos, having been an artist, you go through weird times where you're not making any money. Carlos paid me to paint an entire restaurant that nobody ever saw. I've never spent more time on a piece of artwork. And it was weeks, which I work fairly quickly, right? So it never takes me that much time. But I was like, maybe it's for the best that nobody saw it, because I was just kind of, Carlos was like, do whatever. And then he saw it and he's like, I can't open this restaurant. But I just
my gosh.
I'll never regret that experience, because it was fun to do, and just being by myself and doing this painting and stuff. And then I got to know Carlos and everybody that worked there and stuff. So it's just a funny story to be like, yeah, I worked for 2 weeks, which is a long time for me to work on something.
He doesn't know that we actually didn't open because of the mural. It was.
Man, I wouldn't even hate you. I'd just be like, cool. Had a good time. I think only 3 people saw it. They're like, ooh.
What was it? It was a giant octopus.
There was an octopus on one side, and then on the other side it was just Kansas City, and then down the hallway was just birds.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Backstory to that. Was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I had another vegan restaurant in Midtown that I had business partners with it, and we ended up closing because one of my business partners kind of left and skipped town, blah, blah, blah. So I was left with this restaurant, a vegan restaurant that at the time, I don't think veganism was that popular, and it wasn't. So I had this great idea to turn it into a taqueria in Midtown. And we were working and, kind of getting ready to open up, get the mural and everything. Well, it was, during that time, there was they were opening the streetcar in the city market. So we were not as busy. So money was kind of short and stuff. And I talking to the landlord, said that he had an offer for somebody else to buy me out of my lease. So yeah, I say yes.
So it wasn't because of you, Chico.
Yeah. My Sistine Chapel will never be seen. It's just
Chico, you say that stuff about your work, but my daughter loves your Virgin Mary. I mean, she shows that to everybody. So
yeah, cool, man. Well, I mean, honestly, I'll say I tell everybody, man, if it wasn't for Carlos sort of employing me for a certain amount of time, who knows what happened. I was sort of I was a mess, but so I'll always be grateful to the wife for feeding me and keeping me employed for a short time.
You should have been fired so many times.
Yeah. I had a good time.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Carlos, again. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know you're very busy, and sorry for all the different changes on times and things like that. We appreciate you so much. And we're going to share this all over. It'll be on Instagram as well and Twitter. And so hopefully we'll get your donations, up and going. And
Uh-oh.
Oh, she left. She gone.
So I think she was just saying that she's going to post this. I hope her still showing. She's got the websites on there. and the website for donations.
Yes.
Did you catch up? You sort of froze up for a minute.
I did. I did, yeah. But I got all this information, and I'll put the website and everything on there for you.
The AOL router was too busy. Somebody tried to make a landfall.
That's how
For
I've been
sure.
that's how I've been getting off conversations with people I don't want to talk to me. I'm just like, and then I'll just stay still for like 10 seconds. And then they'll decide they're like, oh, I guess his computer's. I'll text him later and be like, sorry, the internet's crazy.
You do that? What are you talking about?
Just be like,
Chico, every time you do that, I think you are freezing up. It's like
Erica messes up because she just walks by, and I'm like, damn it. Oh, man.
Well, you had a lot of comments on here too. I tried to grab most of them, but there was a lot of people that said thank you and great conversation. Oh, and look, Heather's saying she knows your secret now, Chico. So
Shit. I forgot we were live.
I know he hated it that we were going live all the time.
All right.
Oh man. Well, thank you. Yeah. Oh, you didn't know. All right. So thank you again, Carlos. Appreciate it so much. And I'll get all that information out. And yeah, hopefully we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Chico.
Now we play the game. How do you shut this off?